All right, guys, let's talk about this Jazz loss to the Philadelphia 76ers. I'm still on the road, but we're getting a video out. Regardless, Utah loses to this Sixers team by the skin of their teeth. Holy smokes. If I'm a Sixers fan, let's talk about that a little bit. I don't have my full setup here. This is just my MacGyver setup. But anyways, we're all set. This Sixers team, I tell you what, it's been a rough season for Sixers fans, and I tell you what, Sixers fans, I don't know if it's going to get a lot better. Paul George and Joel Embiid look like they are starting to become some of the worst contracts in the NBA. Tonight did not change any of that opinion. Joel Embiid is just, it is not good, and I'm trying to see, what's the best lighting here? I have my cell phone light right here lighting my face. I got this halo, just regular light above me, which I guess wants to be the brightness of the sun. But anyways, so this Sixers team is just tough because they've got a lot of role players that work and play really hard. I love that pickup they made of Yabusele. He looks great. Caleb Martin makes plays, does some nice things. And obviously, the thing that's really good for Sixers fans is you've got Tyrese Maxey and Jared McCain long term. And maybe if Embiid and George just get healthy and next year you can make a run with another year of Jared McCain with Tyrese Maxey, I mean, that's a fun team. But it's just another year and one more year on those legs of George and Embiid, and I don't know how long that's even going to be viable. So, the 76ers might be in basketball hell. I don't know, but it certainly looks like if you were asking which side, you probably aren't in basketball heaven right now, is what I would say, if you are a 76ers fan. So many thoughts and prayers to Sixers fans who are going through it right now. But sorry, I just choked on my own spit. The 76ers basketball gods are not happy with me. Or maybe it's Daryl Morey with some sort of voodoo doll. Anyways, let's talk about the Utah Jazz. This is a Utah Jazz channel and NBA channel, but also we focus on the Utah Jazz on our post games. But the Utah Jazz had another one where they were winning a lot of the time in this game. And it put too much worry in my old heart. I cannot handle these games anymore. The Jazz are just pushing it, and they have been doing this all year, and it's only going to be a matter of time before they have another bad win against a team like this Sixers team, or like when they beat the Mavericks, who were with a hobbled Luka Doncic, and they didn't play Kyrie Irving, and Utah has found a way to win some of those games they shouldn't have. I can't remember all the other ones, but like that Blazers win they had the other day too. I mean, that one was just crazy. But this Utah team is pushing it too hard, and really there's an easy fix to this. And the fix is trading Collin Sexton. And I know a lot of Jazz fans love him, but I don't know what you're gaining by Sexton being on this team and putting up these crazy numbers. Tonight, Sexton's numbers were off the charts. Sexton in this one shoots... Sexton in this game tonight scored 20 points with 8 assists, 6 rebounds, and 56% from the field, 50% from 3. Now, we got to remember that that's with bad defense. Sexton's not a good defender. But offensively, he's great. And against bad teams like this Sixers teams, he just absolutely makes a huge difference. And so there's not a lot you gain, and there's a lot to lose. There is likely a team out there very interested in getting Collin Sexton. Utah needs to make that trade happen yesterday. And a lot of that reason, well, there's multiple reasons. One, the Jazz need to lose these games. And two, we saw some great things tonight from Brice Sensabaugh. Brice Sensabaugh had a monster night tonight, and you got to be excited if you're a Jazz fan. On the playback live stream, we had a lot of fun watching. But Sensabaugh had easily his best game of the season for Utah. He looked unstoppable and just absolutely awesome tonight. It was the most comfortable I've seen him. I know he had 3 turnovers, but that's because he had the ball in his hands a lot, and he was doing some nice things. Tonight, Sensabaugh had 20 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, and he was amazing. He shot the ball 6 for 9 from the field, nice, and 3 for 5 from 3. He was just offensively looked so comfortable. It looked really good. It really showed you what Sensabaugh could be, to the point where you're like, you know what? Can Sensabaugh eventually turn into that starting shooting guard for the Jazz? Maybe. If he's moving the ball within the offense and doing these things that he was doing tonight, and then honestly being an absolute sniper from three. I know, this is all on one screen, and I'm literally using a touchpad, so I'm sorry, guys. I'm going as fast as I can. But I want to pull up Brice Sensabaugh's numbers. Now for the season, he's up to 8 points, 2.5 rebounds, and 1.3 assists. And look at the shooting now. So last season, Sensabaugh averaged 39% from the field. For this season, he is now at 45%, so upward trajectory. Last season, where we wondered if Sensabaugh was actually a good shooter and more the idea of Sensabaugh being a shooter, be careful there. He changed that perception too. He has gone from 29% from three last year. He is at and I think I don't know if these numbers are updated with tonight, so this may hit 40, but he's at 39.8% from three this year. That's lights out stuff. And so that's what I'm talking about here is I know we love Sexton. I love the energy. I love the fight. I love the leadership. And he's a great locker room guy. All the stories we hear, incredible teammate. If the Jazz lose out on a shot at a top 5 pick because, they like having Sensabaugh on the team, that would be an awful shame because you're certainly looking at things like Keontae George is turning into a nice player. Brice Sensabaugh showing really great signs that he's turning into a nice player. We already know what Walker Kessler is. Taylor Hendricks has not gotten the fair shot that Keontae and Brice Sensabaugh have gotten, so we'll find out more next year. But he was even showing signs in the few games this year. He had already gained the weight, and we saw some moments from Hendricks. It just really stinks that he got injured, so we couldn't see. But what I'm trying to say here is that those players are going to be on the team in 3-4 seasons. Next season, whether the Jazz want to or not, Sexton is going to not be on the Jazz. Next year is Sexton's final season with Utah on his contract. And you can bet there are teams out there that are going to outbid Utah because Utah will have to make some decisions on players. Utah has to make a decision on Walker Kessler's contract. And I can tell you right now that is going to be difficult because as good as Kessler is, he's also in a position that can be replaced relatively easily. And so Utah's going to have some tough negotiations there because Kessler's young and Kessler does some great things. He also is flawed. He is not, he's 2 for 3 from 3 this season, but that's because he's not a consistent outside shooter. He's also not shooting the ball from the free throw line very well. So there's some questions there. But that said, he's also an elite rim protector, a nice rim rolling threat. He's brought back the offensive rebounding that was such a huge part of his game in his rookie year. So now we're just seeing what he can be. So lots of questions to be answered. And all of this basically comes back to Sexton needs to be traded. It just has to happen. And it has to happen sooner and later because it's sunk cost. You could be giving more minutes to Brice Sensabaugh. You could be giving more minutes to Collier. Cody Williams had a few buckets tonight, had a few moments. He had a few moments, but he also had a few moments, right? Some nice buckets. Even in the end of the game, he had some nice... I actually don't know what his numbers were for the game. I didn't even look at it. Cody Williams starts tonight, goes 2 for 4 from the field. 5 rebounds, 1 assist. You know what? I'm fine with that. And if Cody Williams doesn't turn into anything, it doesn't matter because all these picks the Jazz are making is to find out who becomes something. They also have something in Filipowski, we've found out. So Utah is getting all these players on the floor, but they have to give all the minutes to the young players. Like we said, there's 2 objectives all season and last season. There's 2 objectives to this year. Only 2. One of those, the number one reason is they're going after Cooper Flagg or anyone else in the top of the draft. And this draft just gets better and better and better as we go. Having a top 5 pick is incredible because all these players look like serious contenders for like that number 2, 3, 4 spot. I still think Cooper Flagg is basically just locked in at 1. I don't see how you could pass on him at 1. But maybe there's a team out there that makes a mistake. If Utah wins the 2 and there's a team out there that's like, you know what, we like Dylan Harper, we think he's more of a focal point of an offense, then Utah might get Cooper Flagg anyway. It's why Utah has to go for it so that they can at least be in the running. And that's what they're doing. The number 2 thing the Jazz are doing is developing their young players, because you have to find out who are going to be the guys you sign that play alongside the superstar they're getting in this draft and potentially next year with DeBonsa and Cam Boozer. Both potential candidates, you know? So Utah has to make this trade. They have to. They don't have to trade Markkanen. They can't trade Markkanen. By the way, Markkanen tonight, 5 for 15 from 3, just 33%, 8 for 21 from the field, 38%. Not the best numbers for Markkanen tonight, but it's fine. Walker Kessler, like we mentioned, is turning into a beast. 11 points, 11 rebounds. He actually held up pretty well tonight against a hobbled Joel Embiid, but it wasn't enough, which is fine. I don't know if there's a lot of things that we got to talk about too much. The other one is Jordan Clarkson. I don't know why Jordan Clarkson gets minutes at all. It makes no sense. That was a bad signing when they did it, when they re-signed him. It made no sense. But you know what? That's what happens, I guess, when owners make decisions on personnel. You got to stop that. You got to stop doing that. You got to, like, you know, I guess if I was the owner of the Jazz, I guess I got to give Brian Smith some leeway, because if we all bought the Jazz, wouldn't we want some say? That's got to be the hardest thing ever. I tell you what, this is just me talking. I've never wanted to be anyone else, because I like me. I like me. I like all about me, and I like the cut of my own jib. But I would say, if there was one person that I could trade places with in certain ways, still be me, but have what he has. I don't know where I'm going with this. But wouldn't it be cool to be the owner of the Utah Jazz and be in all the trade talks and make all the decisions? And you know, how cool is it that Ryan Smith gets to, like, pay players to play at his favorite college? Pretty cool. Not gonna lie. If I had money, I would do things like that, along with, you know, I guess it might be nice to end school lunch debt for kids. That probably is not even as expensive as you would think. We're not going to go political anyway, so... But that's what I would do with my monies. Anyways, they've got to make better decisions with these, and they've got to move Sexton. They've got to do it. You cannot be making bad signings anymore. It's not okay. It's not something you should be doing. Utah has one goal right now, and that is get a champion contending team, and that is, you do that by getting an MVP caliber player, and there are potential candidates for that in this draft and then next year's draft, with obviously DeBonsa. And Cam Boozer looks incredible, but DeBonsa is hands down the number 1 next year. He's remarkable. Let's see. Did I have anything else that I wanted to go on here? That is pretty much it. I mean, Filipowski came in and only played 9 minutes. He has quietly struggled a tiny bit lately, but that's okay. That's what these minutes are for. I have to say, I liked the Cody Williams minutes. He had a bad air ball on one of his threes. It looked bad. It was fine. It's, you know, a miss is a miss. But for the season, I'm actually kind of curious. What are Cody Williams' raw stats for the year? The numbers aren't great. But let's see here. He is shooting 20% from 3, 29% from the field. Okay, well, it's only up from here, right? So that's the case, and you know, that's what we've also been talking about. You got to play him because he's got to build some confidence. He's going to have some moments, and even if he doesn't, if it helps you get Cooper Flagg or Dylan Harper or Ace Bailey or whoever you want to pick in the top 3, that's also a positive. So it's something you got to think about. What a bummer there's no Taylor Hendricks, right? That is absolutely the bummer of bummers. But what are you going to do? What are you going to do? All right, so guys, I think that's all I got tonight. I don't have the best setup. Sorry it's not as long of a video tonight. We had a ton of fun on the live stream. Make sure you go watch those. They're really fun on playback. And if you join, I can give you a VIP and you can watch the game live with us, you know. So come watch it with us. It's pretty great. And we have a lot of fun. So anyways, yeah, Dre, you were there. You know, playback is great. Playback is honestly so much fun. So go look at playback.com. I think it's playback.com/SLCdunk, or just search SLC Dunk on playback. It's a blast, and we had a lot of fun tonight. All right, guys, I don't have my music because I'm not on my regular setup, so sorry. No intros lately either, because it's all set up on my home setup, so I apologize for no intro either. but I'll be back for the next game, so that'll be good. All right, so Utah successfully lost the game. I believe Portland won again, so Utah is really in good shape with being in the top 5 in the lottery. Now the quest is to get higher. Can you take me? I gotta stop singing right now. Stop that right now. What are you doing? All right, so top 5 for Utah. Utah is locked into the top 5. With the Blazers winning, the Jazz are now 3.5 games up on that 6th spot. So Utah has to absolutely stay the course. They are tied basically with Toronto and Charlotte. So every single night, guys, be rooting for Charlotte. Be rooting for the Raptors. I think the Raptors are good enough to get some wins here and there. They definitely have a piece in, but Utah needs to not be screwing around anymore. They got to trade Sexton. It's got to happen yesterday, and this will all work out perfectly. You can keep Markkanen. You can keep Markkanen. He can be a part of the Cooper Flag show with Keontae George and Brice Sensabaugh and Taylor Hendricks. And then also, guess what? One of the crazy things is the Minnesota Timberwolves pick is still sitting there. Look at this. Oh, did it jump out? It did. Doggone it, guys. Everyone do your bad juju, bad voodoo, bad juju, whatever you can against the Minnesota Timberwolves so that pick goes back into the lottery. We need Phoenix and Golden State and San Antonio to figure it out. By the way, tomorrow is a big game. Everyone go watch the Spurs take on the Wolves. Big time game because that can jump it's crazy how the Wolves pick right now is at 20. Is that where it's at? Yeah, if you go to Tankathon, I think they're tied for 20, and Utah needs them to drop into the lottery. So one loss against San Antonio, and that drops them from tied for 20 to 13 or 14. It's crazy. So go Victor Wembanyama. We get to root for Victor Wembanyama all season, guys. Absolutely. Victor. That's what we got to be. Victor Wembanyama all the way. I'm hoping for him to have an all-NBA season to finish the year so that the Wolves fall into the lottery. It's big time. It really matters. And how fun is it that as Jazz fans, you get to root for the Spurs, you get to root for Steph Curry and the Warriors. You can root for Draymond. And then you can root for KD, Devin Booker, and the Phoenix Suns. It's all helpful to the Jazz. If all 3 of those teams can just overtake the Wolves, it knocks the Utah Jazz pick to like 11 from the Wolves. How crazy is that? So go KD, go Steph Curry, go Wembanyama, Chris Paul, all these guys that maybe the Jazz fans have hated in the past. We now love you. We love you. Do good. I want to see vintage Chris Paul rest of the year. I want to see vintage Steph Curry and vintage KD all season long, baby. That's what I want. All right. Should we get to what I said I was going to get to? Let's see what would happen today if the lottery was being drawn right now. Boom. What would happen? Utah falls to 6. Boo! Portland jumps to 1. Charlotte jumps up 1, but Utah only drops 1 spot. Thank goodness. So Utah goes to 6, which is actually, you know what? If that's the worst case scenario, I'll take it because then the Jazz are picking, according to Tankathon, Kasparas Giacosonis or Trey Johnson, and there is potential for VJ Edgecombe to fall. I think, was it Dre or Tyrone on the live stream were talking about how much they love Giacosonis. They were talking about him being 3. Maybe. But if the Jazz get him at 6 and he's like a top 3 guy, how cool is that? That's what's crazy about this draft is it's phenomenal. You have a lot of choices. And then you also have Trey Johnson, who I think might be just absolutely a steal at 6 because of his shooting. His numbers for the year, he is at 22.6 points per game, 3 rebounds, 2.5 assists, and a steal. Actually, I'm kind of curious. Let's go to Trey Johnson and just look at his numbers. They're kind of crazy. He is an absolute offensive weapon. He's shooting 48% from the field, 43% from 3. And he is the focal point of that offense. Those are his per 36. His average, they're putting up per 36s. So he's averaging 19 points per game, 2 assists, 2.2 assists, 2.6 rebounds, 43 from 3, and 48% from the field as the offensive focal point. He might be, it's one of those drafts where, like, Steph Curry was at 6, right? Didn't Steph get picked at 6 or 7? And then his skill was so high. I mean, Steph Curry has transcendent skill, right? If you get a guy that has just transcendent skill, it changes everything. It's like the Jokic factor. Like, there's a lot of guys that are big and strong like Jokic, but they don't have that transcendent skill and touch that he has. And maybe Trey Johnson's that guy, And that you could do worse for a guy who's really good at shooting threes, whose name is Trey, right? Trey Johnson. Trey Johnson, baby. That would be fun. So anyways, even if you get 6, still a win. Still a player you can put on this team and build around. So, phenomenal. All right, guys, I think that's all I got. I want to give a shout out to the All-Stars. Thank you for those who support the channel and join. I promise you we're getting more out. It's been a little tough with the holiday season. I got a new article up on SLC Dunk if you want to go read it. I'm writing a tanking guide. For those who don't seem to understand it, I wanted to put out something simple and straightforward with kind of a tongue-in-cheek feel. It's kind of funny. So you can go read that. It's on slcdunk.com. It's called Tanking in the NBA, a Guide. Part 1 is about when to tear it down. So you can go read that at SLC Dunk. All right, guys, let me give a shout out to the All-Stars. For those of you who haven't already, if you would like and subscribe to the channel, I would appreciate it. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. And if you want to support, you can join the channel, which means a ton to me. I appreciate you guys who support me and what I do. It means a lot. So let's give a shout out to the All-Stars. Let's give a shout out to Ryan Edward Perry, the legend. Baby Elliot Madsen. See ya, Alexa later. Christian House Money to Haas. The Outlaw Jesse James Nelson. Jordan the Goat Besserell. Austin R. Grant, editor extraordinaire. KG10 to TH5. And Patrick Akubo, the connoisseur. Guys, it's been a lot of fun. Go like and subscribe to the channel. Go to SLC Dunk. Make sure you're reading that every day. I will talk to you next time. Let's see. How do I stop this on my thing? There we go.